Well,
we all know somebody like that, right?
Oh, God.
Dave. I mean, Dennis. How are you doing?
That's a good start. I'm fine, Bobby. I mean, Erik.
Well, welcome to... who are the hosts of this show?
You want me to change my name to suit you? Every episode you call me whatever the fuck you want.
Happy
by
hour.
whatever name. And then you can change the name of the podcast to the Erik and the fucking question mark.
Right,
Happy
exactly.
hour.
Yes.
Oh,
well,
Dave.
The elated
Hey,
60
Dave.
minutes.
Hey, what you want, man? Let me in, Dave. Who is it, man?
Open the pod bay doors. Yeah.
It's me. It's Dave. Oh God! So you know how the social network was abuzz for a bit on this idea of a Karen, a woman who was being stupidly.
That must suck if your name is Karen.
Yeah, related to mass and whatnot. Well, Dave could very well be that very same phenomenon.
Dave,
everybody knows
Chad
Dave.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. So.
Yeah.
So I had a bee problem, man. This is a story. So
can we start off with your A problem? Just get right into the B problem.
No, right straight to B. You'll see.
Okay. To be or not to be?
That's jumping ahead.
Tell me about your B problem.
So I had seen a few bees in my office, and then found a couple in the other room. So I went checking around. And found in the windowsill of my office there were quite a few dead bees, and I thought they were honeybees because the property next to us has a hive right in the corner, near the corner of our property. And I often see honeybees in the garage and things. So as long as they're honeybees, they didn't bother me, whatever. Well, come to find out, my daughter sends me. She says, "Those aren't bees.
Murder hornets.
Those are wasps. Those are wasps." And I said, "Oh fuck, I hate wasps." So I instantly became afraid of them. And of course, it's a whole different story. As well, I should be. I open up my office door after I start noticing them, right? And think I'll go in and vacuum up the ones I saw alive, right? Suck them up and then plug up the vacuum cleaner so they can't escape.
You wasp,
I open up my
sucker.
office door in the heat of the day. There's like 25, 30 of these wasps. Look the size of a honeybee, but a yellow jacket, right? Looks like the bee that would be the insignia for the team in the NCAA.
Georgia Tech.
What the hell? Which?
Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. Is that Georgia
They're
Tech?
not yellow jackets. They're
Yellow jacket.
Yeah.
That's what this is what it seemed to me to be. And so I figured, well, wait till it gets dark and not so hot in there, and they'll calm down.
Wait until they go to sleep. And
Went
scare 'em.
outside and looked and found in my concrete house a hole that if you had a dime, you'd cover it up. That's how small this hole was, right below my windowsill in my office. And it had been a place where a wire came into the house. And then on the inside of the house, there is a similar hole where the wire came into the house. Now, my house is about 12 inches to 14 inches thick. It's so many layers of material, including concrete on the outside, blah, blah, blah. You know the story. So
Big bad wolf's not going to blow your house down.
I hate the wasps. So last night, I had it under, I thought, well, I vacuumed them all up. And every time I went in, I saw a couple more, so I vacuumed them. And then I said, oh, shit, I got to charge my phone in my office. And I go in. And I just have socks on, not shoes, like a dumb shit. And I see these two wasps on the wall near my door. And they're cooler now, so they're not moving. They're still. They almost look like a giant
They're just
fly
chilling.
on the wall.
They're just chilling.
And there were two of them. I thought I overheard one say to the other one, well, at least we'll know what he's talking about. Because he was actually like a fly on the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when I was to crush the one with the spine of my little Mind Over Matter golf book that I keep, but I just can't seem to read it. I don't know. It's almost like I have a mental block to read the book. Anyway, I picked it up and I went to crush the bee.
Wow.
And I kind of jerked a little bit and I missed it. It fell to the floor.
Just like your
I
putting.
didn't know where. I took a step forward, stepped on it, and the motherfucker stung me through my sock.
Hey.
Zip, and then was dead. So now I'm like all jazzed up. I had a very, very, very eventful day. And
did you exclaim anything in that moment?
I said, fuck. But for the last thing of the night, just before bed, literally, walking to the bed. What kind of a day is this?
Well, that's a bad way to end a day.
Well, and it didn't swell up much. The sock actually kept the stinger from being stuck in there, so it wasn't terrible. Today was fine. I licked on it a little bit and put some lotion on it. Seems okay.
Good. So the
baking soda is what you put on there, and vinegar to
make a volcano.
The poison of the sting is so highly acidic that it irritates your system and ends up hurting and scratching, and it's just this acid like. And so when you add stuff to it to make it more alkaline, like sulfur, or in this case, the other material. So that's what you do.
Cool.
Vinegar, the baking soda.
I mean, that's what you use to make a science fair volcano.
Same.
Yeah, because it releases. There's a chemical reaction that releases carbon dioxide, I believe it is. It sort of foams up.
Yeah, right.
Well,
right. So I never used the remedy. It didn't hurt enough. But so I had this guy. You remember the ant story, the termite story? We had posted the little video.
Yep.
The 49-second video of the termites who raised havoc. And you may recall or may not, it doesn't much matter. Either way, it's not particularly interesting. But I had to go through 3 different bug guys to find a guy who finally believed me when I said, I know I have insects in this house, and it's your job to find them. 3 guys. And this guy said, you do. And found them and was reasonable and sprayed around the house, on. And I was back 3-4 times, this guy. And I couldn't remember his name, nor could I remember the name of the company. And when I went into my briefcase that has apparently 99% of every receipt, I could not find the name of this company. So I thought, I got to find out, I got to get somebody here. The bees are terrible. And I started cold calling based on a Google of insect pest companies near me. But the fucking one that I hired didn't come up. And I finally, with the bees buzzing around the room, grabbed my checkbook I use for house improvements and found the pest control place, Archer.
There you
Pest
go.
Control. And the guy's name is the same as my father's name. And I couldn't remember that. And when I forgot both of those things, and I couldn't remember who it was. And I ended up instead, I had hired somebody on a cold call. And he said, well, why are you calling your bug company? And I said, well, because of this and that. He said, well, we can do that. And I said, how much? He said, 160, 190. And I said, well, all right, got to get up on a ladder, probably, whatever. And then I found Archer, called Archer. And I said, blah, blah, blah. She said, yeah, we work with you. I said, well, what was the guy's name that I liked so well? He said, I said, the old guy. And he said, oh, Don? I said, God damn it, yeah. I didn't swear, but yeah, Don. Right. So now she says, so do you want us to come out? I said, well, how much would it be? And she said, probably 160, 190, maybe less. And I said, well, I've already got people coming out. And I started to tell her the story. And it was a long story. I don't know why I thought she was interested, but I had called at 2 minutes to 5. It was now 2 minutes after 5. And she interrupts me. She says, well, that's all very interesting, but I'm not working anymore. So goodbye.
Nice. Clocking out.
It just made me laugh.
Yeah.
Drop the mic.
That's like when, it's like when our podcast time is up and I just say, okay, bye, Dennis.
Goodbye. Get the fuck off the phone.
Still talking?
So one of the things that I did that you'll like being a parent is that I figured where the bees were coming in near the window, and it was where the ropes that are attached to the weights that help raise and lower the window in this old house on a steel pulley. You familiar with the design? Where the casing of the window hides a very heavy weight that's attached to a rope.
A counterweight so that it doesn't take much effort to raise the window. It's like a hot dog weight. So when you lift the window, it's very easy. Right. I'm not familiar exactly with that design, but I can understand the physics of why
it's built into the frame. But that's what we have.
Cool.
So where that pulley is inserted into the wood, where the rope comes out into the window, there's 2 holes there. One where the rope goes down into the window to latch onto it. And it's a really cool design because on the side of the window casing that you drop and open and close, they've created a little indention on the side, just big enough to hold the rope, stapled with a knot at the bottom of it so that it's all vertical and flat. And so there's a little bit of a crack there. The bees can climb out, and mostly where the pulley is. So my solution was I asked my wife if she had any Play-Doh, and she said, I do. And I took a can of Play-Doh and I puttied every space, and I licked that bee problem before they got here, vacuumed up every one. It was a miracle.
So you saved the 160 to 190?
Oh, no. The bees were now still going in and out of the little micro hole beneath the window, but they weren't coming into the house. So the guy shows up.
That way, right?
He doesn't have a ladder. He looks up. He says, how the hell am I going to get to that? And I'm like, don't you have a ladder? I told him it was on the second story. He said, no. I said, well, I have one. He said, well, let's go inside. And we found the other hole. And I explained everything to him. He said, well, I can squirt the dust both into the holes in your office that go into the casing and into the other hole, and I'll get those suckers. And that's what he did. And then he sealed back up with the Play-Doh, and he killed the entire nest. And they're all dead inside the house, inside the walls. There'll be a miner, I suspect, dying, dead, gone, bee odor. They're very brittle. There's not a lot of meat on them. You wouldn't want to roast them on a spit.
Bee odor. Is that like BO? So I have a similar wasp hole
I hate
story.
fucking wasp, man.
Unlike not a wine hole, but a wasp hole. So as I mentioned to you the other day, we recently acquired another apartment that is adjacent to ours. I mentioned this way far back in episode 4 or whatever, where we have this problem on the horizon of my son and daughter approaching puberty and not going to be able to share the same bedroom anymore. And so we needed another bedroom, and we looked around and there weren't any bigger houses around. So we found, but the one bedroom apartment across the hall from ours was available. And so the idea is that I'm going to move my office over there, and then probably, mark my words on, episode 72, that eventually probably one of the kids is going to inherit that apartment. But anyway, so with that new apartment, we have this much nicer external balcony. Our apartment in Spain, we have from the Moorish influence, a lot of the houses in Spain have this internal open column. When I say houses, I mean apartment buildings. So that a lot of apartment buildings look like they don't have any balconies, but then on the inside there's like a hole. It's like a donut, and on the inside there's balconies, so you have light and a place to hang your clothes, because we don't have clothes dryers, but that's a different issue.
At level, what is in that space? Just a green space?
Yeah, there's some in ours. There's whoever lives at that level has some potted plants and stuff out there. But so anyway, so with this new apartment, we have this external balcony, which, as I showed you the other day, has these very nice views. But the railing around that balcony was these hollow metal pipes. And when I was, because it's been summer and sometimes I go out there in the afternoons and work from out there.
Wasps
there were wasps
pipes
going into those little holes. And so I watched, I was just sitting there and I watched one come and go into a hole.
What kind of wasp? What do they look like?
Pretty similar to your description of what you had. They look like
not the one with the hanging down legs and the black body that's so black it looks deep purple.
It looked like a bee, but it was a wasp, which it very. For sure, it's a different species because we're in a different continent, but it's very similar. So anyway, I watched a couple of those go in there.
What do you mean Spain's in a different continent? It's I thought it's connected, right?
Yeah.
To Canada.
Yeah, it is. It's
okay.
Yeah, we're out continent and you're incontinent. So
that's not true. Let's spread that rumor.
So my solution was to take some duct tape and tape over all the holes and
slow death.
Yeah, and presumably at least one of them probably got close enough to the duct tape to die stuck to the duct tape.
And to the others, stay back or you two will get stuck and die.
For the next 2 days, the ones that had been trapped outside of the nest kept coming around and being like, where's the hole? Where's the hole? I don't see the hole. Where's the hole? And so, but now that problem has been solved, and at some point we're going to need to get some little rubber caps or something to put over that, because right now the duct tape looks pretty ugly. But hey,
yeah, well, I just bought some of those for the bottom of my chairs. They would work perfect. Just a rubber cap to protect your wood floor.
Hey, do you know what duct tape is called in Spain? It's called American tape. Yeah, I didn't know this for the first 12 years that I lived here, because any duct tape that I bought, I actually went and picked it up and paid for it. But the other day I was in the hardware store and I was looking at it and it says Cinta Americana, American tape, and I was like, that's weird, but also kind of I'll own that.
We've talked about the duct tape phenomena in the contest of people building boats and cars, and started with them having all their clothes made out of duct tape. Well, did I tell you the story about the reusable shipping crate for frozen fish that I built? Did we talk about this?
No.
Huh?
No.
Oh, my God.
Bring it on.
So my brother sends me fresh fish from Lake Erie that he catches in droves of all kinds. Walleye, which is our favorite eating fish, and he ships it in a styrofoam container, and then you keep the container and whatever. And it cost $38. And I'm sure I told you this.
I remember something about duct tape related to fishing, but I don't think it was.
So I don't know.
I can't remember what we talked about last week.
A cardboard box, covered the entire box with duct tape, including all the flaps. So made essentially a duct tape box that could float.
A duck box.
And it was a perfect size to insert a styrofoam cooler. And then inside the cooler, I bought a soft-sided cooler at a yard at a.
Wait, so hold on. If you take a cardboard box and you completely cover it in duct tape, it is now waterproof and can float. All right, continue.
Sure. Yeah. And so inserted into that is the styrofoam, and then inserted into that is a soft-sided, 6-pack cooler.
This is floating. This is floating near you in the river while you're fishing, and you immediately can put the fish in there.
No, I mean I'm saying it's waterproof, not because you're using it because of its buoyancy. I'm just saying that it's that strong.
Okay.
So at any rate, in there goes the soft cooler, and that gets folded down. And inside the soft cooler, I went to the big box store here, Lowe's, and I bought these little puff things that you squeeze and pop that are so much fun, but they're just big enough
bubble wrap
for a small 4x6 picture or an 8x10 picture, and they're asleep and they're styrofoamy. They're not the popping kind. They're more like a real light styrofoam.
Yeah.
And you tuck them in. And so then inside of there is fresh frozen walleye that he takes home, fillets, surrounds with water in a bag, instantly gets all the air out of it, seals it tight, double bags it, puts it in the freezer. And so in go the fish, into the styrofoam, into the 6-pack soft-sided cooler, into the big layer of styrofoam, into the box.
Take a Walleye Turducken.
And it holds like 8 pound packets of walleye. There's a lot of room for fresh, right? So on the front of it, using clear tape, I took a zip open pencil carrier that a kid would stick into his 3-ring notebook to carry his pencils with, now a Ziploc, a very sturdy Ziploc, and put that onto the front and tape the bottom of it so the zip still worked. And in there, I made 3 sets of index cards that were also in permanent ink on white, which had the address of one of my brothers on one, and then each of us, and then a return address to my brother who sends us the fish.
No shit.
So,
and so
that
he mails it to one.
The cards around, and the deal is, and they don't know this, so if they're not listening to the podcast, they won't know this. I'll tell them to. But here's the deal. When you get it, you got to send it back to brother. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter really how much it weighs. When I weighed the empty container that I described to you, which is about 26 by 28 inches, pretty square, so it's fairly, fits behind my seat of my sports car with no problem. It's not that big, and
fits up behind the seat of my sports car.
When you ship it to anywhere in the U.S., it doesn't matter whether it's full of fish or whether it's empty, because unbeknownst to me, the weight has very little to do with their
volume
cost algorithm.
Volume is the.
It is mass. It is about volume, yes, and mass. To some degree, I don't know what the formula is. So here's the thing: I didn't know that. I thought I could ship it back empty for maybe $8 or $10, which, and so no, that didn't happen. And so now the dealio is that you got to send stuff back to my brother, to the fishing brother.
So you put in a bottle of whiskey or something.
Kansas City, who's a grill chef extraordinaire, right? He's going to go out and grill up some freaking pork chops.
Give him some charcoal or something.
He gets cut about 2 inches thick, heavily fatted around the side, soft and tender on the inside.
2 inch thick pork chop.
Pepper and salt.
Holy Jesus!
Right. So take about 8 to 10 servings of those, and deep freeze them immediately with one of those devices that sucks the air out of the bag, so it's frozen and Ziplocked, and then he ships it back. So there's Fishing Brother gets the Kansas City pork chop.
You're shipping
me, I
meat.
don't know what I'll put in it. I could take fresh vegetables out of the garden and freeze dry them and not freeze them. But anyway, we'll see what kind of use it gets. And on the bottom of the box,
has this been used? Has it gone through a cycle yet?
He just received it in the mail.
Okay.
The U.S. mail. Let's hear it for the USPS.
Yes.
I love those guys.
Buy some
91%
stamps.
approval rating, and Trump takes them on. What do you mean? They don't need so many mailboxes. It costs money. It costs money to send the mail. But
he's
anyway,
never written a letter in his life.
Here's the end of the story, is that, these fishing pictures that you posted, and the miracle, which is my brother, who as I continue to say over the years, the legend continues. And one of the projects that I want you to do in your spare time is I want you to take these 2,000 photographs that we have of my brother smiling with a fish in his hand.
Yeah, you mentioned
and
that.
rapidly expand them on a screen of all of his smiles until the word fish is on the big screen. You could do it in 16 to 20 hours.
That's like a Tuesday for me. 16 to 20 hours, shit.
So on the bottom of the box,
so for listeners,
one of my favorite pictures of him, that's an 8x10 that I clear taped to the bottom of the box, so that when the postal people are shipping it, if they were to turn it the wrong side down, if they looked at the bottom, which is pretty light, it's not very heavy, is this big picture of him. So it's like and I named it the Hooter Fishing Company, fresh fish to your door, and used that in the instructions, which were implicitly written, instructions to receive it, instructions to send it, a lot of it in red, bold.
There you go.
So that my fucking brothers wouldn't get it wrong. And an extra return address card or two that says on the back to brother, fisherman brother, to say, you'll need these. The other brothers
don't throw these away. Right. Yeah. Nowadays with so many box meal service programs, it seems like a reasonable thing. So coincidentally, the episode when we talked about fishing with your brothers was episode 27. And this is episode number 72.
Oh, so sequentially, that means that when the numbers are reversed, they seem to take us back in time. And if that's true, then I want to welcome you.
Is the fish swimming forwards or backwards?
To the Twilight Zone.
Are you taking the fish out of the water or putting the fish into the water? Hey, I have some news. I did some things. I had some life experiences for the first time. Remember how I mentioned that I had never ridden in a convertible? I have not.
No, you never drove one.
I never drove one.
Not ridden.
Correct. I've never driven one. And I still have not. But I've checked off a couple other things. That was just a teaser.
The story isn't even worth telling.
That was a teaser.
That was like the whole basis of it.
When we were on vacation last week, we spent some time with. Let's see. The guy that I was spending time with is the husband of my wife's cousin. So we'll call him my cousin. And this is a super, super masculine dude. He taught me, because he is a professional teacher of boxing. He taught me boxing. Exactly. And
what?
So he gave me some gloves and taught me some boxing moves.
Everything. Now when I see you, I have to be more careful.
Exactly. But it was...
You'll pop me in the mouth. Boom, boom.
It was really interesting. And so he trains children and adults in boxing and knows a lot about it. And so, he was teaching me these techniques of, how to get your weight behind your punch and which knuckles to hit with and how to stand and how to turn your... There were so many parallels to everything that I know about the physiology of golf, because a lot of getting power in a golf swing is about twisting your body and transferring your weight and
winding and unwinding.
And
it is a beautiful thing to behold.
Yes.
That beauty.
Yes.
That is captured now in such eloquence, slow-mo in golf, which is just turned into it's like ballet.
Right. So well, and really, any professional sports, if you look at the slow-mo, it's just like how was their body in the right position at the right time to do whatever it is that the sport entails.
To get the maximum effect that you want.
Right. Whether it's a slam dunk or a punch or a baseball swing.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, I spent, this was after we'd had several bottles of wine, and he was like, "Hey, put on these gloves." And
oh no.
No, but it was just,
you're on the floor.
No.
You say like, "Oh wow, man." Oh man.
So it was all teaching me to hit his hand or
to be offensive.
Yeah, to be offensive. There was no but like to punch and then immediately retract and be defensive, because he would like he wasn't wearing gloves, but so I would punch at his hand and before I could get back, his hand would swing around and like slap my shoulder or something.
Well, that's how I lost one of my front teeth. is in a basement of my friend's house, and he said, "Hey, man, let's put on these boxing gloves." And I did, and he knew how to box. I never did. And the first thing he did was go to hit me in the head, and I ducked, and we were in his basement, and his father's workbench was there, and his father's workbench had an anvil with a big iron pipe that you spun around because it grabbed. It was like a vise. It weighed about 65 pounds. It was drilled into the side of his workbench that was made out of 2x12 boards,
And that was stronger than your
welded
teeth?
together. And bam! Broke my tooth right the fuck off. End of the boxing match. And his father comes home, and he
Why is there
says,
blood on my
"Father
anvil?"
will kill me. No blood. No blood. My father will kill me. You've got to tell him something else, that you've slipped or whatever. I'm not allowed to box. Later, the same dude cold-cocked my brother in a bar. How about that? This was 25 years later. He cold-cocked my brother in a bar. Same dude.
Well,
but anyway,
there you go.
So I lie to him, and then I go home and I lie to my father, who's looking at a fucking dental bill in very tight times. And he's got the dentist on the phone. I'm in the sitting room, and I hear him on the phone. What I learned later was this dude, Ricky, his father, who called, who said that he's got his son to finally tell the truth about how your son broke his tooth. And my father was learning on the phone after he'd already
accepted your story.
Accepted my story, plus I acted on it, which, trying to get insurance on the phone, and of course then he put him in a position to tell something that wasn't true. And I realized it as he was on the phone. Now I'm like 12.
Wow.
And I'm in the sitting room, and to get to my bedroom, I got to go through the kitchen that's got a little place that you sit and eat, a little, not an island, but a little
bar
thing out there with a couple of a bar, right? And I had to go between that bar and the telephone. And I was contemplating how long the cord was and how fast I'd have to be before I was so out of reach from my father, who was going to fucking come at me because he's on the phone listening. And sure enough, as soon as I heard, I tried to scoot. And just as he was learning the truth of it, and he went as far as the phone could go, and he kicked at me and just barely got me in the ass and just kind of bumped me along to my bedroom, where I ran to my bedroom and then locked the fucking door. And he just left me in there. Oh, God.
Wow. So anyway, it was...
back to the story.
It was an interesting experience to, like...
box, right.
Yeah, so I can see the appeal of the offense. I don't know that I want to so much be on the defense.
So didn't I send you a link to the movie, or did we already talk about this as well, with Mark Wahlberg as the boxer and Christian Bale as his older former boxer brother, who's quite the character. And the reason that I wanted you to see this is because you told me once, you said, and I quote, "Well, I have a thing for Amy Adams, and I want you to know that this is the steamiest Amy Adams you will ever see, or that has ever been done. She is the love interest of Mark Wahlberg's character, and it's based on it says this isn't based on a true story. This is a true story, and it's a fabulous film. But I was struck by, when you were describing the boxing, the great boxing movies you've seen, and how well prepared the actors have to be to be able to.
This movie's called The Fighter from 2010.
Called what?
The Fighter.
The Fighter, right.
Mark Wahlberg, fabulous. Christian Bale, Amy Adams.
And that's following up Ford versus Ferrari, which is another fabulous.
Well, that's
Christian Bale.
After.
Anything he's in is good.
Yeah. Well, wasn't he Batman?
Yes, he was great.
I'm not a big fan of superhero movies, but
you've said.
Yes.
So you've said.
But
it's almost like, I think what you say is that you don't really believe that they're really superheroes. You just don't want to get into the whole, are they super? I mean, is it true? So the movie Glass explores all this. Samuel Jackson and Bruce Willis.
I have seen
the
that.
whole idea that, in fact, there are superheroes amongst us. That's a fabulous movie that I just saw as well. That's what we do in COVID-19. We just binge. So have you checked, there's no reason you should, but you might have checked any of the DNC convention that's in its second night, and the 18-minute Michelle Obama, which is the best fucking speech that you've heard in years. 18 minutes.
I've seen, I saw part of it, and it was just like like I already agree with her with everything.
Right.
And
right.
so
well,
it was a little bit like, the choir listening to the preacher.
Yeah, she was so riveting, and we adore her. But here's what Trump says. It was obviously taped.
Yeah, right. I saw that.
She should have done it live. She was wrong about the number of deaths. There were 20,000 more deaths.
Yeah, you're right. She said there are more than 150,000. Because I saw that exact line, and
174,000.
Right. So
this fucking idiot is pointing out.
He doesn't know what greater than means.
There were more deaths. I've done more deaths than anyone. I'm like, are you kidding? We went by 100. We blew past 150. It's more deaths than ever.
No president has had as many deaths as me. Yeah.
No, you think I got small hands? I don't have small hands. Those are big hands. Well, I'm closing the Postal Service. Well, this is what happens. These people go to these mailboxes and they get their ballots in there, and then they vote. That doesn't help me. No. The Democrats, they can't make this happen.
So have you seen how there's this idea going around that, and how true this is, I don't know, but the liberals are sharing this idea that you can get your mail-in ballot and then actually drive to your local ballot place and drop it in their mailbox.
That's true.
So you don't have to go at all through the Postal Service at all. So any hijinks that are set up to prevent ballots from going through the Postal Service, you can sidestep. And by doing this, you're saving having to go to the poll. And
right. Just have a box.
Yeah.
Right. Just
which, like, why the fuck isn't there a voting month where you can vote at any time during that month?
Right. And any number of. Why isn't it a day off?
Well, that's
why
true.
Isn't it a holiday?
In other countries, in civilized countries, so in Spain, voting is always on a Sunday. So nothing is open. Everyone has a day off. And they have this special, on the Saturday before, they have what is called a day of reflection. And this is a day where
Say that in Spanish, I remember it.
Dia de reflexión, where the campaigning is prohibited. So, I mean, I don't know how much sense that makes, to be honest. Whether or not you need a day.
It's an incentive to do Sunday. It's an incentive. It's a perk.
No, but
it's like,
but like, I don't know that not being able to campaign right up until the person is voting is going to affect anything. But
what if
the fact that it's
but the day of reflection would indicate, if you haven't read up on these guys,
maybe you can take a moment to think about it. Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a day of reflection makes it sound a little bit more obtuse than what it's a day of education and decision. It's what you do. It's a voting preparation day.
Yeah, but sure.
But
okay.
They don't call it that.
But it's the main thing about it is that the candidates cannot campaign on that day.
Right. So in the U.S., the research shows that Senate Republicans, particularly in the West and in several important states, historically do much better by mail-in ballots. And as a result of what Trump is doing, there's now this data that shows the changing percentages of people who will either vote by ballot or show up or don't know. And Trump has pushed all those numbers in the direction that he wants.
Mm-hmm.
He's very effective at that. Among his supporters, the biggest leap now is that, okay, we will vote in public. And he's remarkable. But I had thought that when the Senate Intelligence Agency published a report that they're now calling the Rubio report, Rubio's Senate Intelligence Committee and these Republicans, including Tom Cotton and a host of others, signed off as the majority for intelligence report that not only corroborated the Mueller report in terms of these actions, which played into the hands, including, but not limited to, Trump's campaign manager, who never took a dime for running the campaign, had as a business associate in several meetings a Kremlin fucking Secret Service employee who is now known to the U.S. and published and was giving him polling data that was confidential so that the Russians, this is all now in the report, signed by Rubio and Tom Cotton and all these other folks. And so Rubio, who is either so fucking stupid that he doesn't know what's in this fucking report, which he's not that lame, it's the other thing that's likely, is that he thinks that we're so fucking stupid that he could say this in an email, and he can say, long report, 1,000 pages, without doubt, no collusion, very, very, very suspicious or very underhanded activity by the FBI. So the Democrats are calling it the Rubio report, or the Cotton report. And Tom Cotton was saying the same thing, including but not limited to that the Senate fucking committees, the subcommittees, is being fed by that Kremlin employee working for the head of the Trump campaign access to the Wikipedia emails and called them on demand to counter the tape when Trump talked about being able to just grab a pussy. And they released it within 12 hours notice. The motherfucking dude that Trump just pardoned, Roger Stone, called on the leak, all of this stuff proving beyond a doubt, that all the stuff that they said in the Mueller report said, so here, Congress, I've done my job. I can't indict him. He's the sitting president. You do this. The committee did it. They did it. Majority Republicans. And at the end of it, the Republicans say in their own, there's 800 pages that are bipartisan. Then there's Appendix A, which is what they say, and it boils down to no collusion. And then there's the Dems piece of that says proves it beyond a doubt. Doesn't talk about collusion. Talks about just the fucking unethical, against the fucking law, to fucking have foreign influence on an election. It's all proven. This is why this just came out and why it's signed. Now they can say, this is it. This thing you're doing with the mail, sorry, man, this is the beginning of the end for Trump support in the majority-controlled Senate, because he is fucking them just as possibly hard as he could with no regard. And he is absolutely could cost them the election. That's why he backtracked and the head of his postal service, mysteriously named DeJoy, who, by the way, yeah, he's primary owner of a company that does kind of a postal service job that just made millions of dollars. Would it be that maybe they'll take over the private postal system? As you take mailboxes down, they're showing trucks full of mailboxes that have been uprooted from the corners they've stood for 20, 25 years, carrying them away and going into the huge mail office buildings and tearing out the machines. 15% across the country of all the machines that sort the fucking mail. And the Postal Service testimony of the guys on the ground said, are you kidding me? We can process 1 billion cards every Christmas. Ballots, no problem. Unless, of course, you take away the mailboxes, you take away overtime, you reduce the staff, and you take away our motherfucking sorting fucking machines. And 91% of the American people go out on the street and cheer for our fucking postal workers, our essential workers. This is who that fucking idiot takes on with 91% approval. He's going to, against them, against the senators, against everybody. He's a fucking gun to his own political fucking head. This is remarkable. This is remarkable. And tonight, who speaks? Hillary Clinton and fucking Elizabeth Warren tonight, bro.
Was AOC last night or tonight?
She's going to be, huh?
Wasn't AOC going to speak?
Day 3 of the DNC.
AOC at the DNC.
AOC at the DNC. I got a minute. I'll tell you my thing. Let me tell you what I think that I bring. Let's go. So you want to see a weird thing, man? I want you to see this. You got to see this while we're broadcasting here. It'll just take a second. I want you to get the closing of night 1 and the singer playing of the Crosby, Stills, and Nash song with Stephen Stills playing the guitar, which is the tune For What It's Worth.
Billy Porter, Stephen Stills, performance closeout, day 1 of DNC.
Exactly clear.
Oh, there's a man. The Stop Children. What's that sound? What the fuck?
Right. So I want you to watch just a second of that. I want you to watch it with the following question in mind. What the fuck is going on with the Cape, man?
That was my first. I've seen 4 seconds, and that was my question.
Is this video about the Cape? And the answer is partly. And Stephen Stills has a cutout figure playing his guitar with nary a close-up of either the guitar nor and it was done in a 50 style. Some people thought it was fucking brilliant. Other people thought it was fucking terrible.
I'm with the latter people. This is crazy. And
I didn't like it much.
People in the back.
But I love the song so much. And,
the song is awesome. But
no offense, I don't think he sang it all that well. There were places in the beginning of it, and he got into it later, but I don't know.
This, I mean, like, that song as a protest song is as apt as ever. There's a man with a gun over there.
Stephen Stills was living in a small place in California, and he was stunned as he was driving his car down the hillside to the town that there were riots going on, and he went back and he wrote the song from beginning to end. It was reported as 1966. I remember it as 1968, but you can look this up as we talk with your nimble fingers when he wrote that. But the story of how it's got its name was that one of the producers, or the producer, had the Stephen Stills song, and he gave it over to the sound studio and said, "Here's something that Stephen did for what it's worth," because he wasn't,
funny.
Right? And
it was recorded.
So, Stephen Stills, when asked about that, whether you believe he said it or not, that wasn't his recollection. But it was a little bit short of that's absolutely not true. It made me think that maybe he took offense at that. But it's a great tune.
I did not know who the members of Buffalo Springfield were.
Oh God, Neil Young.
Yeah, Stephen Stills and Richie Furay.
Oh yeah.
So yes, to answer your question, it was recorded on December 5th, 1966.
So it was 66.
And it peaked at number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart in the spring of 1967. Yeah. So, hey, I got another story. My same super masculine mentor that taught me boxing also gave me another new experience of...
Are you sure? Are you sure we can talk about this?
Yes. Of driving a motorcycle.
Oh.
I'd never ridden a motorcycle.
Oh, God. Isn't it crazy?
And so...
Isn't it just the best thing?
Yeah. And so he has this, like... It's sort of like an intro motorcycle that he bought for his son when his son was 15 or something.
I'm at 150.
I don't even know. It was a lightweight.
A scooter.
No. I'll send you a picture. It's an off-road motorcycle. It's for driving on the off-road.
I got 2 stories for you. When you remind myself.
So anyway, it was interesting. First of all, his helmet was a little too tight for me, so like my ears were all bent in a weird way and uncomfortable. But
did it have room for your protuberance, the extra ankle?
Yes,
and foot
yes. There was an ankle hole. Not to be confused with the wine hole.
You put it on like a boot.
Yes, and so I
make money off those.
So I rode it around this little circuit where there weren't many cars.
So he taught you, and then you got on, and you were riding around by yourself, and got the hang of it.
Yeah, I got the hang of it.
3 gears?
I don't think I got past gear 3. I don't know if there were more gears.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so it was fun. I got up to about 30 some miles an hour. Not super fast.
When I was growing up, we had some motorcycle connections, particularly off-road bikes. Yeah. And one of 2 stories is my brother and I were in a barn of the guy who owned the farm where we were hired as grape trimmers.
As what trimmers?
The vines of grapes.
Grape trimmers.
And comb them so that they were hanging straight down to the ground, because when they get tangled up, the leaves don't grow and they don't extend. So you comb them.
Vine combers.
You comb them and you use your hands and you separate the vines so they're all hanging down more like a mustache rather than a gnarly thing. The way we did it was we did a windmill. Zoomed our hands, our arms like a windmill, the motion, behind in front, and just ran up, and we just ripped the shit out of those vines, and that straightened those motherfuckers out. And then you scoop up the shit that you tore up, which of course...
So it looks like you did it properly.
Very much. But you were done in like 20 minutes. I mean, it was supposed to take an hour or so. So we got into trouble instead, and we went into the barn, and he's gone. He's in his truck. He goes to the feed store, wherever he goes. We find an old motorbike, and my brother and I, between the 2 of us, get it fixed so it drives, and it's got a flat tire on the back of it. And I'll never forget my brother speeding around in the fucking mud in this barn, going right out the door, and goes so close to the road that the fucking farmer sees him.
Oh no!
Riding by on this broken old down thing with a floppy tire in the back, and he's going like crazy. We got in so much trouble. But leading into the second story, so over the years, I drove some. So my brother, the same brother, he gets a 500 Honda, which is a big motherfucker. You got to straddle it. It's like getting on a small fucking horse. And I'm like, oh, yeah, man, this thing is a little heavy. And you get the balance of it. And, you know, you got to figure it out. And you get her started and it's going and you're on it and you go. So I'm in first gear and I'm like, cool. And I was starting to go faster. And as I was, for whatever reason, I was starting to slip off the back of the seat. Just a little bit. Not enough to just, but I was going back. The wind or whatever, and the seat was slipping. I had on fucking, you know, flannel pants or something that were sliding away. I don't know. But when I started to slide back, my hands automatically gripped and moved forward. And so I had inadvertently, of course, opened it up. And when I opened it up, it blew me off the back of the fucking seat. So my fucking junk was fucking hanging on the very rim of the end of the seat. And I'm going up the fucking road, doing like 45, heading up to fucking 50 on a straightaway. And I'm lost control. And I pulled myself up and I didn't crash. Oh,
well done.
Woo! So you know how dangerous. I mean, can you imagine?
I did not do any junk rimming, but yes, I was constantly aware of how, you know, when you're on a motorcycle, just how close to death you are. Like it's so dangerous.
Right.
But it was cool. I got the feel of it, and I figured out, you know, how to switch gears and how to.
I brought my buddy's motorcycle and drove it without a license in about a 30-mile one-way trip through the woods and the fields of upstate Western New York, where we live. And I was always, one of my favorite times was in the heat of the day, as it turned to be, you know, 11 o'clock, and the sun was starting to shine heavily and in the hot summer. But then when you went down a hill to a crescent in the a valley in the road, and surrounded on woods on both sides, maybe a farmhouse at the bottom of that, before you go up the other side, how much cooler it would be. A degree, 6-8 degrees cooler. And it was constant, where you were always going up and down and going into these cool spots. It was one of the favorite moments of my young life.
Speaking of hot, today we had some, not record temperatures, but very unusual, where it was, in Fahrenheit, it was 100 degrees here today. And we have no air conditioning. And so, like, we had, like, the windows open with this super hot breeze blowing in, and my computer started to malfunction. Like, I could no longer, like, scroll windows and stuff, because according to Apple, you're not supposed to operate your computer over 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And, like, it was just...
You needed an ice block.
Breaking down.
In front of the fan.
Yeah.
Blow, you know, really cold water on your computer system.
Yeah, I was gonna like pour a bucket of water over it, but
I tried that with beer, one pre-episode preliminary get together, because there's some real benefits to starting.
when I'm hot, I like me a cold beer. So the computer, give that computer a beer. Yeah, so it's cooled down now, but it was toasty. So such a summer.
So we got the bees fixed today. Plus they connected our new copper water piping.
The one that had to be unspooled through the hole.
Yes. Spooled out, spooled in. And connected it to the brand new 18-inch brand new water main directly from the filtration plant.
It's a big water main.
Which is a third larger than the source that it replaced. So our water pressure, which wasn't bad, has increased. And our brownish water is now turning clear. The day before, the plumbers are coming in to put in both a whole house water filter system and a water softener system next to each other in the corner of our basement. And I have bought the 2 different tests to test afterwards for bacteria, mineral deposits, and other things such as the hated sediment.
Well, shit, our listeners are going to just be waiting for the next episode to get those test results. Clean water. Dirty water.
And that goes right into Jaws.
Sediment.
Jaws.
Well, we don't want to get too sentimental.
Gonna take a sentimental journey. Gonna take a sentimental journey home. I'm gonna take a sentimental journey. I don't want to be alone. You look that up. That was before you were born.
It was before your time. It was before your time. That record came out, and it was a single, and it came out, and we were in my friend's garage, and we had an old record player, and we didn't have a needle, and I said, well, there's your father's workbench over there, and I got the smallest nail that I could find. I put it in that record player, and put it down there, and you could hear the music if you put your ear up near the nail. And it's where I heard the Beatles for the first time. And I said, oh, they'll never catch on. And I went back to listening to Mitch Miller, as you know.
You do know this Sentimental Journey song is older than you, too. You young whippersnapper. It's older than you.
It's what?
It's older than you.
Oh, really? I knew that.
Yeah.
I was like acting like I was an older man. See, that was the voice.
I couldn't tell any difference.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well.
I hope we never get older.
No.
Us today, and we'll come back someday, and maybe we'll act a little bolder.
Amen.
In Spain, they never eat chili.
Here we go again.
We've talked about that. It's not even true. Is it?
That's also not the lyrics of that song.
Huh?
It's not about Spain. I looked it up when you were singing it 45 episodes ago, but it's...
No, you got it confused with the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain, which we established. We established this as a truism, a weather accurate verse.
The actual
chorus, actually.
That song is in China. They never eat chili. Just letting you know.
Sounds racist.
China. No chili in China.
Yeah, you know. Where you going tonight? You know, got a date. Oh, yeah? Where you going? Going to China.
Ain't no chili in China.
Hey, so I saw the movie, a good part of the movie, Hanna, which has Cerise. Oh, God, what's her name?
Theron.
Fabulous Irish actress.
No.
Who...
I've seen Hanna, the movie.
That's remarkable.
That's the one with the little girl that's like a...
And the second best role of the dude who plays her father, who was his best film, was The Time Traveler's Wife, Erik Bana.
Erik Bana.
He plays her father in this. He is...
Yes.
He is superb.
Yes, he's so good. I really like Hanna. So did you know that they made a TV series after this?
Yes.
Which I watched like the first episode of and was not impressed.
Right.
But yes, I enjoyed this movie a lot. I love that it's such an easy genre to do, of the super well-trained fighter soldier guy that doesn't want to have anything to do with anyone anymore and wants to live all by himself peacefully. But then someone comes and finds him, and he has to kick ass. Yeah. So that's like,
Greek,
all of
Shakespeare,
Jason Bourne and all of that shit. It's all the same. Yeah. It's all the same story. Right. But yeah.
That's a good series. Jason Bourne series is excellent.
It's awfully fun. The European car chase stuff is just fantastic.
Yeah. So later tonight, we're having a little gathering of toasting and drinking some brewskis in front of the big screen.
Soiree.
As Elizabeth Warren is a big highlight for me tonight, and leading to two speeches that I just can't wait to just observe and just love the fact that I'm enjoying something political on TV instead of standing up and screaming at it and spitting at it saying, "You stupid fuck." Kamala Harris is accepting speech, the vice president candidate.
We haven't mentioned that choice yet.
And Barack Obama tonight. We haven't mentioned what?
The Kamala Harris choice.
Oh, we haven't spoken since then?
No.
I thought we... Oh, yeah. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, because we skipped a week.
Yeah, so it's... Right. It's pretty wild.
I thought it was right. And one of the best reasons it's right, and it's not... I'm the first person to observe this fucking woman can give a fucking speech. When she's pissed, she ain't making it up. It's like when Joe feels your pain, he's not making it up.
Yeah.
He's sincere. And when she's mad, she's really mad.
Yeah.
And she's so vocally astounding. One of the things that she has to be careful of, to some degree, particularly at the early stages here. She don't want to show up Joe Biden.
Yeah,
She's
but
not gonna let that.
How self-assured is Joe to choose a woman that is more rhetorically powerful than he is?
Yes.
And
Let me tell you what.
how just humble, I guess, is the word I want.
Yes.
To
Reverend
choose
Al
someone.
Sharpton said this. He said this about that. He said, yes, the choice of Kamala Harris shows maturity.
Yes.
In that he knows that is what he needs in the room, and security in his own position, that he knows that he's going to have someone who not only will disagree with him, but who has. That's what he wants. He wants her to be one of the last two people in the room that decide what they're going to do.
Nice.
And she is unvarnished. Maturity and security. I'm like, Reverend Al.
It rhymes. It must be true.
Well, he's good at that.
So
he's a good preacher.
So is the White House really a place for maturity? I don't know.
Could be. They'd have to take out the tinker toys.
It seems like it's a place for children to play.
So that the people noticed, of course, when they were doing a tour of the White House, that the pictures of Obama and Clinton were missing from view. And it was discovered that Trump had moved them to another room. And you might say a smaller bedroom? No. A hallway? No. What kind of room? Well, it was a room that had a lot of shelves in it. And there were some boxes and stuff on the shelves. So I guess you could say, no, it was a room. It was a motherfucking storage room. That's where he put Obama, because he couldn't stand to look at it, couldn't stand to know they were there.
Like I said, maturity has no place in the White House.
Maturity.
I'm surprised he didn't draw little mustaches on him or something. So
I thought a lot about you and your skill set, and I wondered something you may not know because you may not have viewed it enough is some of the poor executions of the blending from a video shot to a live shot where the timing was off. And only, frankly, several instances where it wasn't off. And it was interesting because you would think they got more money than fucking God to be able to do this right.
Who are you talking about?
They're saving God's off of millions of dollars by not having a convention. So why don't you put your money in the TAC
to be
able to cut accurately from a video to a live shot so you don't hear somebody saying 2, 1. So you don't have somebody standing there. Jim Clyburn from South Carolina had to start over. And they had it filmed.
What the hell, man?
And he was stiff as he could be. They had him on a roof all by himself. There wasn't anybody around him. And it's like, why didn't you have people socially distanced filling that roof every 12 feet with masks on so that when Clyburn was fucking done, they applauded so that he could feel like he was talking to somebody besides a cameraman and some fucking guy who's going 3, 2, 1. And that's it. And Clyburn's like, nothing to fire him up. Nothing to react to, nothing to respond to. Who's he giving his message to? This is, I don't know, bro. And then, but the cuts were the digital thing. I guess not digital. I don't know how you describe it. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why is that so hard?
Look at what the people covering sports can do with really live, maybe a 2-second delay between what happens on the court or the field to what is shown on TV, and how professional all of those cuts are between this and that and the other.
That's the epitome. That's excellent insight. That is the epitome. You're right.
So
and multiple screens.
But also, like, with pre-recorded things, it's even easier. Like the part of the, like, I've given a couple of talks where I pre-recorded and it was just me in my office talking to no one, and that is so totally different from when you're talking in front of a crowd. Like, there's no comparsion. There's
no particular compelling reason to make it more interesting.
Right, and there's no energy, and there's nothing on the line. If you fuck up, you can go back and do it again.
No, if people are nodding their head and whether they look like this, like, what the fuck are you talking about? You don't know that. You don't have that feedback. The leaning forward or leaning back or talking while you're presenting, or it's all part of you honing it. So that it's more interesting to get people's attention.
Right. And so, like, our podcast listeners, I don't know if they're like applauding every time you speak or groaning and fast forwarding or whatever. It's so, that's a similar sort of problem. But when it's pre-recorded, like, you have all the files, like you could potentially edit everything together 4 days beforehand and just press play and broadcast it all.
So check this. While they got Joe Biden, who strangely, out of the blue, who hasn't been introduced. Nobody said. He suddenly becomes the MC in a room that's got 6 digital screens that are probably 3 foot by 5 foot panels. And the camera is showing the side of Joe Biden, and each of the people are going to talk about racial inequity. And Joe is going to show his concern about that, but with no introduction, just switching to him. The screenshot they showed on television was them taking a picture of a digital screen. So, of course, the woman was all fucking square, but it looked like a motherfucking El Greco fucking painting. I mean, fucking cubist shit looking stuff, right? And it's like, how the fuck can't you spend the money to do this right? And who is producing and directing this? That suddenly Joe Biden appears, and the first thing that he shows on screen after the woman says something about her racial inequity that was heartfelt, he says this thing that's heartfelt, but he's in such an uncomfortable place in a room with these big screens. And the question is, why aren't you in a fucking gym? And those 6 people are sitting 20 feet away.
Yeah.
It's Erik. I say this about if you and I could feel this, and I don't want to detract as I am obviously from the value of some of it was expert and wonderful. The 17 delegations, every state in the country, every delegation in the country said a minute of stuff, and they were showing on site on their soil, in front of the ocean, in front of the mountains, with Native Americans, with people who are delegates, nice, saying what the great state did and how many for Bernie and how many for Joe Biden, the next president of the United States. The Rhode Island dude who's talking about
people voted for Bernie.
Dude, how many delegates for Bernie and how many delegates for Biden? They were the last 2 standing in the race for the nomination.
I recall.
And the blind dude, who was on the shore of Rhode Island, is in the picture frame with the stand-up mic, with a chef dressed in a chef outfit, holding a steaming plate of fucking calamari, and saying, from the state that ships this calamari in every single state in the United States, we have proudly, and so many to Bernie, and so many to Joe Biden, and everybody loved it. They said that's so much better than a convention, where
everyone's all there together and they're reading off whatever.
Nobody ever heard it, and then people said they'll never go back. That was superb. And some of the speeches were better than Michelle Obama's is worth listening for the whole thing, but it's going to be a banner night down. This is a big deal for us. We've been very angry, and this will help heal the wounds. Oh God! Well, listen, I got to go. I got shit to do and I got to piss.
Well, that's shit and piss is a great way to end a podcast.
Shit, man. Hey, you know what I saw the other day too? Was part of it was Deliverance.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. And Burt Reynolds, in the height of his masculinity, in his southern accent, where throughout the movie he wore a sleeveless fucking, what do you call it, a water vest, and had these big burly sideburns and his dark curly hair, very muscular, and ended up breaking his leg, blah blah blah. But it was astounding for me to see that character, because when he was doing the comedies and into his older age, he did a great movie with Mark Wahlberg, where Mark Wahlberg played a 17-year-old kid, had a giant wong, and went into the porn industry.
Yes.
And it was Burt Reynolds who was the kingmaster of that, and in his outlandishness. What was the name of that?
Something Nights. What? It wasn't Mark Wahlberg. It was another Wahlberg?
No, it was Mark Wahlberg. I'm sure of it. Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights. I told you it was Nights.
Boogie Nights. Anyway, so
yes, Dirk Diggler.
So the whole thing was about his wong, and it was long, it was strong.
Did it sing a song?
Well, he really got along with
yeah. Okay.
But it's a huge fucking schlong. So did I tell you the story where my last name in German means carpenter? Which is our heritage going back to Germany, and in a town called Schrunzenhof, which is the home of the carpenters, and it's what the little Four Corners place did. Now, also in the German language is the word Schwanz, and the word Schwanz it's similar to the American slang for schlong, so it's Schwanz. And unbeknownst to one of my bosses, who was my skipper when I was salmon fishing out in the Pacific, he didn't know my last name. He only knew my name was Dennis. And he was calling me Schwanzy for this time, because he was basically saying to me, "You stupid fucking dick.
Nice.
Do this, do that, you schlong."
I'm not a dick, I'm a carpenter.
If I was a carpenter and you were a... Would you marry me, honey? Would you have my baby? If I work my hands in wood like a nail-time driver.
All right, that's it for episode number 72. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/072, where you will not find videos of me boxing and riding a motorcycle. You can help support this program to have more exciting adventures at patreon.com/happyhour. We would very much appreciate that. And hopefully Dennis's bees won't come back, and we will see you next week.